We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is a pre-recorded show. We've got Kev Chilvers, our resident coach on. How are you, Kev?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, just melting in this heat over here. It's a little bit toasty.
Just to remind people where exactly you are in America.
I'm south of Atlanta, Georgia. So in the middle of literal nowhere, and we don't get any sea breeze. So it's 38 degrees centigrade right now.
My God, unbelievable, mate. And I mean, we've done a little inroad with the lads who've done the show already, the likes of Mitch and Steve, etc. Just give us a little potted history, I guess, of you as a supporter. First of all, Kev, how did you first start supporting Newcastle United?
Well, as a young kid, as a 3-4-year-old, you get a ball chucked at you in the garden and Newcastle shirt on, and that's pretty much how I started through my dad and obviously my mum. But first ever game was Tottenham Hotspur. My mum took us. My dad was in the Milburn paddock. I was in the East Stand, and she managed to get 2 tickets together. And basically, yeah, loved it from there. We got beat. Teddy Sheringham scored the winner, I believe, and I was beside the Tottenham fans in that corner back in the old the Gallagher. And so ever since then, I just got the bug, and once I got the football at my foot, that was it. It was, meeting mates, playing with my mates in the street until sun up to sundown in the summer holidays. And then got the, through the football development scheme, the council development scheme, I got given accolades through there. So I knew I had a bit of a talent about myself. And so that ever since then just grew and grew and grew and grew. I was playing a year above myself. I won the best in the Northeast through that program. They got a lot of all-stars in from around the county and the Northeast of England. So I was one of the best of my older age group at the time. So I won that accolade of being the best in the Northeast of England, which was, it's like you won the World Cup essentially. What I mean? It's a big thing to do. But then I got picked up At Newcastle United, there's back then the School of Excellence. JC John Carver was my coach, so I had the pleasure of working with him, and he coached me, which was brilliant. And and just progressed through Newcastle United Academy system or School of Excellence system at that time, but unfortunately got released, got let go. Very similar to Dan Byrne, actually, which I think we're going to talk about later, is that it was very similar. Got released for my height because I was what, 5 foot, not even that, 5 stone wet through, but I could dribble and cross a ball, and I had a bit of pace about me. But yeah, I got released. JC released me, and then I went to Sunderland, which was quite a bit of a momentous occasion in our household. You know, my dad being a lifelong Newcastle United fan and season ticket holder at the time. I think I was the season ticket holder at the time, so it was quite a difficult one, because you want to chase that dream. You want to chase that, be a pro. I would have played anywhere. I had Manchester United, Blackburn, Middlesbrough, you name it, anywhere. Pretty much Nottingham up with chasing my name. But I went to stayed closer to home, obviously. Went to Sunderland, stayed there until 16. But yeah, 15, 16, somewhere around in that. And then pretty much just got my nose pushed out. It was quite a bitter ending towards that time of my life, you know, going through quite important examinations in school. You know, that time of your, as we know in England, that time of your life, it's quite important time in 15, 16, where what career path are you going to go down, which way your life's going to go. Yeah, so that was the unfortunate decision I had to make. I left on my own terms. I just walked away, sent a letter into the club. I still haven't received one to this day back saying thank you for all your efforts, blah, blah, blah. Didn't get anything back. So that's the measure of Sunderland Academy, I guess. And then I had the opportunity to go to Newcastle College actually and do a YTS program, learn about football and sports science and things like that through the college. And so that was my introduction to sports science, learning, coaching, playing North of England football for the college at the time and things like that. So yeah, that was great. And just again, like I said, played for Waterstones men's and under 18s on a Saturday and Sunday. Played for Gateshead a little bit, you know. So you dot around, you try to find your way into on the pathway, if you will. And then through that time, got my degree. Then with all of it, I found myself traveling to the United States and living out of a bag for 3 months and traveling this great country, which I now call home, coaching kids on camps. And trying to get them invested into the game and all that sort of fun stuff. And it was one of the best, 5 to 6 years of my life. And now obviously lived here, got 3 kids over here, find at home, travel, like I said, pretty much not every state, but near enough every state in this country. So it was just a brilliant learning curve. So that was my other YTS, if you will, of moving away from home, being an only child, finding your feet in life. So it was a big thing. And like I said, I'm still here today, 16 years later, once I officially moved here in 2009, and I haven't looked back since.
Amazing story, Kevin. I'm sure a lot of our viewers will find that story amazing as well. And it just shows you as well, I guess, how hard it is to make that breakthrough and become, you know, a professional footballer and get to the top of your game. And, you know, for every person that makes it as a professional, there's thousands of youngsters who don't, and it's how you cope with that. And it's a credit to you, I guess, that you're still, you know, doing something that you love, still involved in something that you love. I've asked this question to Mitch and to Steve. Well, I'm going to do the same to Stu, you know, but I've asked it to Stu many times as well. What do you miss about home the most, Kevin? Because as a Geordie lad, you've managed to retain your accent. You're still flying the flag for Newcastle United. You're a vital part of this podcast. Obviously, we know that you've got family back here. Is it family, or is there other things that you miss?
It's I guess the camaraderie and like mates, friends who you play football with on a Saturday or a Sunday, that type of idea. Obviously the food, of course, that's a given. You know, I can't find good fish and chips over here to save my life. I try every restaurant that I go into, and it's never ever going to be, you know, our coastline of wonderful establishments that we have. So it's a combination of everything. It's the Saturdays with my dad going to a game. It's those types of moments. Because we had our own set ways of what we done. We parked up, just went to the game, then pretty much went back home, and that was it. We didn't really do the full bar thing. Just with his work commitments and whatever, and my playing commitments. But it's a difficult one because I miss family. I haven't got many left, to be perfectly blunt. There's not many of us left over there. So it's only my mom and my cousin. So I really, and a couple of aunts and uncles, whatever, but not really, like you'd say that I'm no brothers or sisters. So I can't say, I'm going to see my brother this summer or in the winter, things like that. So we're quite sparse and small. Yeah, so I don't know, a little bit of home comforts, a little bit of the match day experience, a little bit of the city life, if you will, that because I live out in the sticks pretty much, and I don't even go to the big city of Atlanta here. So it's just that those like little things that I was used to, having a Greg's walking down Northumberland Street type of thing,
Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things I think most people miss, and I mean, it's it's unless you've done it, then you don't understand, anything about that. But yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, let's concentrate on Newcastle now, mate, and look back first of all on last season, an amazing season for Newcastle United. Is that, despite the fact that you weren't in the UK for it, is that still, your best season as a Newcastle fan?
Absolutely. Hands down, absolutely. In twofold, I was blessed and watched. That was my introduction from as an early age with the entertainer era. So I was kind of blessed with that. That was my introduction to football. It's like, oh wow, this is what it's going to be like. But then obviously that didn't occur, and through different managerial changes and ownership changes, etc. But looking at it from afar, watching everything that's gone on and all that sort of thing, like I said, living here, and I'll tell the story. I fell to my knees. I genuinely, and my wife took a picture of it, which I'm thankful for. Not really, but she took a picture of it. As soon as that final whistle blew, I was standing there alone, getting emotional thinking about it now. I was standing there alone, and my wife was potting around, whatever, and she just took a picture of me, and I crumbled to my knees, and I wept. Well, no, bawled. That I've seen actually Newcastle United lift a trophy. I had again the pleasure of Atlanta United win one. I was there with my son. We've seen that happen, but it wasn't my club. That's not my club. It's my local club, and I'll support them, which is fair enough. But to see my boyhood club lift that trophy aloft at Wembley, quite possibly outside of the birth of my children, quite possibly one of the best days of my entire life. Even though I was 5,500 miles away across a big, massive pond. And Mitch and Sue, obviously, they know that feeling, they understand it. And those who are expats, they understand that emotion too, that you wish you were there, you wanted to be there, but I felt like I was there. Just from the TV coverage, from things that we were going on within group chats and friends, whatever it was, it felt like I was actually in at Wembley or in the city itself. So yeah, it was monumental in terms of the day. It was quite an early get up. You watch the coverage all day and whatever, and yeah, it was just emotional even now thinking about it or talking about it.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, it was an emotional day for everybody concerned, whether you were there or whether you weren't. But fantastic occasion, and to get Champions League as well, Kev. I mean, sometimes after winning a trophy, especially as early on as the Carabao Cup, which of course is, in and around Easter, it's the first trophy that you can win. To find the momentum again, it can be difficult because it can almost be that kind of put the flip flops on that early. We've achieved our goal. We've won something. But for Newcastle to continue in the way that they did, they deserve all the accolades that come to them for getting into that Champions League position.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, they could have put the flip flops on, played in the Conference League, and we're done for the season in March. But I don't think that's how this current coaching staff as a whole operate. The job wasn't done. Yes, we've got a trophy, fabulous, great. Well, now we move on. But yes, we'll enjoy it. We'll enjoy that week or 10 days or whatever it was over the international period. But then we'll go back to work. And I think Eddie Howe said that not too long after the final itself, or within one of the first two press conferences. It was, we'll go again. And that's what, in testament to the coaching staff, especially Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall, is they got the best out of their players for the last remaining 10, 11 games or whatever it was. I may be mistaken on that. But they got re-galvanized that team. Yes, it was peaks and troughs. It was ups and downs. It was indifferent. But at the end of the day in sport, or whatever their goal was at the start of the season, they achieved it. Ultimately, they got a trophy. They got into the Champions League. And now they're going to pit their wits against the best club teams in Europe. And that's what, as a fan base and as a club and as a fan, that's what we want to see year in, year out. Yes, we can argue, we can debate, we can whatever as a group, as a fan base. It doesn't matter what we say, it's how we get there, and we got there.
We did get there, yeah. And I mean, disappointing that last game, of course. Manchester United, of course, beating Aston Villa. A lot of Man U fans saying they earned it, but we earned it over 38 games, Kev, didn't we?
And that's the point, the consistency of it. Football's not pretty. It's the most imperfect game in the world, in my opinion, or perfectly imperfect. It's beautiful to watch at times. It's the most frustrating thing at times. But as long, again, we've said previously that, you don't see little asterisks beside each game. We don't see those, what happened, what were the moments. It's the 38-game season. And that's what I think, I don't know, but I'm guessing here that Eddie Howe set out. Okay, we'll have blocks of so many games, periodization. We call it, okay, where we are after 15, 16 games, where we are after these next 15, 16 games. What are we going to do next? So, again, there would have been benchmarks, would have been standards to get to that level and being consistent over 38 games. Like I said, yes, we lost some and we had dips in form. Everybody does. Outside of Liverpool this past year, they were the anomaly. Everybody else was dropping form at possibly the right time for us, wrong time for them, and flip-flop in different clubs. So it just depends which side of the coin you look at it. But again, 38-game season. Again, pick up as many points as you can, score as many goals as you can, concede less. It's pretty simple when you think about it, but football world makes it all complicated.
Yeah, it certainly does. We talked about this on the fans forum. Newcastle United's player of the season via the club's website was Dan Burn, 52% of the vote. Just remind us what your views were on that. Were you happy with that? Was that the right choice?
Absolutely. Again, the phrase I used before was consistent. He was big in terms of character, not just in terms of height and stature, but in character, mentality for the group, to really drive, I think, the coaching staff's narrative of what they wanted to achieve. And I think he was lent on to other senior pros potentially. I would have looked at Dan and said, hey, this is what it's meant to be as a Newcastle United player, based on how he's a fan. And this is what it means to me. And this is what it means to even Sean Longstaff. You can put him in that. This is what it means. If we do this, if we execute this over a consistent basis, they'll love you forever. And yes, that's on grass. That's in a plain sense. But off the field of play, you never seen him in any trouble. You never seen him in any bother with what's going on. He's got even within the family life, whatever it is, it's always consistent. It's always structured. There's always standards. And it's just a brilliant nod to a brilliant guy, to a brilliant footballer for our football club. And I couldn't be happier for him.
I mean, from our perspective as well, we've had a few players that probably could have won that award. Alexander Isak, 20 plus goals again in a black and white shirt. Phenomenal signing when you think we only paid around £70 million for him. With Newcastle's Nixon again coming up with a gem from abroad, and no stopping Alexander Isak really this season.
Outside of an injury or two, yeah, no. He's, in a phrase, just pure class. He just oozes confidence when he's flying. He's banging goals in left and right. But it's more than that. He's bringing players into play. His movement off the ball to allow things to occur off. There's various occasions this season. The Southampton goal for tonight when he scored when we played down there at their place. His movement to create space. His game intelligence, his IQ is very, very high. He's just all around player. He's just top level, and I'm trying to think of a comparison, but I don't think there is. He's one of his own. He's an enigma. He's unique. I watch Peter Beardsley, and he's in that mold of Peter Beardsley in a sense, but scoring more goals. He's a different player, yes, but he's the blue chip, if you will. He's the one that you hang your hat on to score every week. You hang your hat on. He's going to give you everything that Eddie Howe wants. He's the starter of the press. He's the ball. He can hold the ball up. If the delivery's good, he can bring players into play. He can drift out wide and create problems. He's pretty much got the lot. Or, for me, it's just, how can I put it? He's not that he needs to bulk up a little bit, but he just needs to be a little stronger in some areas, because he's going to come up against some big lads as he does. I think it's just that type part of the game that he's not that he's not physical, but he's physical in a different way. But I think he's become attuned to the fact of how to play in England. And I think if he again stays fit for a longer consistent period, even though he scored 8 or 9 on the bounce, can he go 10, 15 on the bounce? Can you set bigger targets for yourself? And I think he can do that. But again, the only person who's going to defeat him is himself. It's a self mental thing, because I think he's got the right coaching people around him. He's just, again, pure class.
It was always going to be a big season for Sandro Tonali. I mean, obviously we had his ban, of course, which was much publicised. But Newcastle United, kept him fit, kept him up to speed. Obviously, we had the added bonus of the fact that he could play from, play behind closed doors, which I remember Ivan Toney couldn't do that. Whereas obviously he couldn't play official friendlies, but training with the team was allowed. He came back firing on all cylinders, both at club level and international level. How big a part did he play? And obviously, we have you on the show as the resident coach. How much of a difference did that tactical switch, whether it was forced upon him or whether it wasn't, I'm not sure. But how much did that switch in positional play in the midfield change our fortunes early in the season?
I think that was probably the best decision Eddie Howe's made across the season in terms of the tactical change. Because not that he sees the game, we'll go into coaching terminology here. Not that he sees the game from the 8, which is the 2 in front of the centre of midfield. But if he sees the game defensively, is the number 6, then he can cover ground, I think, better than Bruno in terms of his pace, his physicality. He can keep the ball 1-2 touch. He is a driving force from that position, because he can make that late, deep run from that position, and then therefore recover into a defensive shape, into a low block or into the press. Again, he's got every tool a central midfielder needs to drive this team forward. He's that type of player. I can't remember the game when he ran with the ball from the edge of our box all the way down to the strawberry corner, and he pretty much carried the team with him and said, "This is what we do." Again, like a Dan Burn, took the responsibility on, being mature, and the game understanding that he has to sort of say, "We're under the cosh here a little bit. Let's just try. I'll just run up the sideline and get it up into the opposition end of the park, and we'll keep the ball and we'll win the game." And you can tell he's a leader. You can tell he's a captain. He's very methodical in his mannerisms. He's not very outlandish. He's very thoughtful in what he does. But again, with him, the spine of the side with him and Isaac, it's a force to be reckoned with. But again, the tactical change, I think that was not a fluke, not by accident. I think that was thought, and I think that was well thought out, in my opinion. I think they sort of said, okay, Tonali plays as an attacking central midfielder on the right side. Yes, he played well in games, but it wasn't him. It didn't fit him. So that obviously they've changed it and moved it and dropped back one. And that now he sees the game. Now he can control the game. He can control the tempo of the game. Not that basically in a simple phrase, he'll just win it and give it to Bruno, win it, give it to Joe Linton, who can then drive forward, win it, give it to Gordon, whoever, and be that link and that glue between the back four and the front three. And I don't think Bruno was giving you that. I think he was running all over the place and getting lost. I think Tonali's very, again, football IQ, very intelligent. And I think we've seen the fruits of that of, yes, he's long layoff, but still being able to be in and around the first team. So he's picked up, obviously, what's going on and how the team are needed to be played. It was just getting him back up to full match fitness, essentially. His football fitness, his game fitness, his mental fitness in terms of can he get through games over 90, 100 minutes. There was all those types of little nuances that I think the coaching staff have done very well with him. And I can't wait for next season to see what he produces.
It's fascinating and an amazing turnaround. We'll have a quick ad break back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. And don't forget as well, we are raising money for Age UK North Tyneside Dementia once again next season with our NUFC Matters fanzine. 4 issues for $27.50. No, 4 issues for £25, and that includes your postage. International prices are available as well. You just need to go to our website and look at the fanzine, so nufcmatters.co.uk, and place your order today. This is limited to 200 copies. We will not be going over 200 copies, so please, if you want one, order early to avoid disappointment. And it means as well that we can get the money over to the dementia charity fairly quickly. And thank you to United Group Travel, who've come on board as a sponsor. They've pledged £250. We are looking for one other sponsor. You will get an advert in the fanzine as part of that deal. Half a page on the back along with United Group Travel. So if you are interested and have got a business, or if you've sponsored with us before, we're just looking for a one-off payment, and that £500 goes towards paying the print bill. Big thanks to Penny Print for printing the fanzine once again. The only other costs we incur are the postage, and of course we cover that out of the money that's been paid, but just short of £4,000 I think we raised with that last season, so always well worth doing. And if you are waiting for this issue, it'll be winging its way to you hopefully at the end of this week, and should be with you in the first week of July if you are in the UK, obviously slightly longer if you are a resident in another country. But yes, issue 4 is, as I've already said on other shows, probably one of the best ones we've done this season. Some great articles in there. Don't forget as well, if you're going to the end of season do, there is going to be a replica of the League Cup, so you can get your photograph taken with that for a donation towards the charity. And the talking with the lads will be around about 9 o'clock. I know a lot of you always say, when are the lads on? Well, it's going to be about 9 o'clock. This is the end of season do, of course. So it's really just a get together of fans. There's going to be a merchandise stall there, so you can buy quite a few Carabao Cup related items, and there'll be a couple of raffles for the charity as well. I think there's one of the women from the charity coming down to do a little bit on stage, as will George. George got up and did rather an emotional piece about Marjorie last time. I think he'll be doing the same again. Mitch is going to be there, Steve Hasty as well, so get yourself down. Rob as well from Talk of the Tune is making an appearance, so well worth getting yourself down there and meeting a few of the people from behind the camera at NUFC Matters. And I did mention on the fans forum as well that you can relive the history making League Cup final on the 25th of July. Tickets are now on sale, and I'm saying on sale, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It is free entry, so all you need to do is, if you want to come along to that event, it's 7 o'clock at the night time, it's basically register. Limited to 100 tickets, and the prize for entering will go to one of those lucky 100 ticket holders. It's a wonderful piece which Danny Mitchell has created, and it's got a replica medal in. I will have a picture of it coming up over the next couple of days, but if you enter, you get a chance to come along to the event, but to claim your prize you must be at the event, so please don't enter unless you really intend on coming, because obviously you've got to be there to pick up your prize on the night time. We won't be posting it out to anybody, so if you're going to come, you've got 1 in 100 chance of winning something for Nout, and obviously there'll also be some memorabilia on sale on the night time, so get yourself along to that one as well, a chance to watch it with a few of the Matters crowd. Okay, we are talking to Kev tonight, who is part of the fans forum, a good friend of mine as well, and looking forward to seeing Kev, hopefully all being well, in the UK as well in the forthcoming months. But Kev, getting back to Newcastle United, and Dan Burns just done a podcast. I know you haven't had time to watch all of it, but he's just done a wonderful podcast where he gives an insight into his career, and of course looks back on a wonderful season as well, not only as a fan but as a player and a person who scored the goal in the cup final. But what did you make of what he was saying about the tactics? I mean, he obviously was very careful not to give too much away, but what was he talking about? Give us a little bit of an insight from your point of view. What was he actually trying to talk about? Because he was talking about systems and about Eddie shouting code words on and them knowing what the situation was. What did that all mean? Break it down a little bit.
Well, those are just basically trigger words, what they'll use in a practice or a training session across the week. So they'll do the video analytics of said game, whoever team they play. The analytics team will do that. And then that'll be reverbed onto the coaching staff, and they'll do their little meetings. Then that'll get passed on to players, and then they'll develop practices, training sessions based off what analytics tell them, of where the particular passage of plays, if they're playing out or they're going long. So basically be trigger words. That could mean that they could be anything, whatever you want to say, that could be that word. I know certain trigger words, certain trigger things, what I introduce to younger players, especially because I'm like a developmental phase coach, so I don't really get into the full higher echelons of where I work in the club. So it's basically if a guy's player's back's turned, if they have a bad touch or they go long, then you can drop off and play into low blocks, and you can, if it's playing out from the back, they'll go short, then there's a trigger to to get into these particular positions. Do we go man to man, or do we again play in a zone where we'll just let them have it and drop off and play low or mid to low, or if it goes into certain thirds of the field, into the pitch? So if it goes from our attacking third into the middle third, is that when we press? Is that when we go? And is that when we start upsetting the apple cart, if you will, and trying to win the ball back and then play on the counter attack? There's a lot of variations again in terms of what shape we play. Do we play a 4? Do we go 4-3-3, or are we playing a 5 at the back? Which I have an opinion on, where I don't think we actually are playing a 5 at the back. I think we're playing a 3-4-2-1 with a little box midfield. But that's nuances in the game, what they see and what I see, because we try to overload the midfield. If a ball goes in, then they know when to move out of that. They'll have, like Murphy and Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon drop in is a 5 or a 4, make it flat. Tino Livramento drops back in. Kieran Trippier drops back in, whoever that may be. So the main phrase is triggers and whatever. Again, you can use whatever word you want. You could use I don't know, whatever, like hound or this or what. It's up to said coach. It's up to whatever it fits the team's personality. There could be swear words in there. Who knows? You know. But it's been an evolution to see. It's helped me a little bit, because not that I get confused, but I've seen Eddie Howe change the system, mainly back end. I say post Christmas, of going to 3-4 different shapes, systems in game. So again, that's what Dan Burn is talking about, where words will be said and they know what system to play immediately. And that's the hard yards Monday through Friday, driving this into them of what the shape needs to be, what your role is, which is the more important part. What's my job in this system? Yes, I could stand and play in a 4-4-2 and play centre midfield and not know what to do. If I know my role and what I have to do I go and push high? Am I the one sitting? Whatever. So there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of difference. It all derives from what the other team do when, say, we haven't got the ball for those moments and systems. But when we do have the ball, then you flip it where, okay, this player moves in. We'll have for argument's sake, Jacob Murphy makes a ball into Isaac, makes an out to in run, and makes an inverted run. Kieran Trippier makes an overlap. Isaac will drop it into Bruno or into Tonali. That ball will be played down the line inside the fullback in the half space, which is called, and that ball will be put across. So that there's different, again, but those same trigger words will be used in 2 different ways. This is what we do defensively. This is what we do when we have the ball. Or there could be completely different ones. There could be attacking and defensive words. So a player now has to be, and Dan Burn talked about it, you have to be switched on. And that's why in the podcast I've done, he's always talking. He's always making people are mentally switched on. And that's 99.9% of the game now is mental toughness, mental strength. What do I go? What's my role? What do I have to do now? What do I do in this position where the ball is? When we haven't got it, when we have it, when say Dan Burn has the ball, what happens? Who moves where? There's a lot more intricate movements now. It's not, yes, we want to see freedom of players and the Mavericks of the world, for argument's sake. Willie Sewell just wants to run and dribble, but he's got to hone that in. He's got to tone that down. He's got to do it in moments. The game's all about moments and overloading numbers. He talked about it's like a game of chess. The goal he scored against Liverpool, it was like a game of chess at Wembley, where they wanted to defend the front post. So they've seen that through watching Liverpool and playing them not 3-4 weeks prior to the final. They knew that Van Dijk, Konsa, the fullback who was playing, can't remember, Gerenbach, they're all tall, they're all big. They're going to defend the front post and get the first contact. So our analytics side and the coaching staff said, okay, well, we'll just drift Dan Burn out because he's our biggest threat from out the air. So he mentioned the first contact, winning the contact. And he says Thomas Tuchel wants him to do that, the first contact on the ball. That means go and win the ball. It's old phrase, go and attack the ball in the box. And that's what they worked on. And that's what, and it come, obviously we know what happened, and it worked. From their side, and he put himself against McAllister, which is, again, brilliant analytics. To sort of say who to put against who. Again, it's not just tossing the ball into the box and say, go on, Dan, you go win that. It's very, very intricate and it's very, very detailed. And again, that's the thing with the shapes and the systems. It's 5-10 yards of movement of any said player could completely make the wheels fall off. And that's why I think with Eddie Howe and Jason, all the staff, they're very regimented in terms of what they do. We can tell we're regimented and we're difficult to beat. We're hard, very, very hard team to beat. And if something breaks down from it could be Tonali, it's something. Bruno in one game, I think, what game was it? Can't remember, either way. At the final, and he tried to do a pirouette or whatever and lost the ball, and they go and score. That again, but that's the fine moments, and he probably was in the wrong place to receive the ball. He was in the wrong body position and things like that. So I think tactically, moving forward, he's not going to have to deviate from his 4-3-3, but there's ways in which he can. He can play the false nine. Of course, we all know names and phrases, but if he plays false nines, if he creates a box midfield, plays a 3 at the back, plays a 3-4-3, kind of similar, but it's not. Just depends on if you've got the ball or not. If you play a 3-4-3, again, there's just a lot of nuance, and the analytics is heavy in the game. Yes, it's computer based and things like that, but he even talked about the Liverpool game, the final, when the analytics team have looked and seen and got data about the second half starts, which was fascinating to me. And we've all said on this platform and on these shows, we always start slow in the second half. But they've seen that, and they've recognized it and said your sprinting output has to be improved in the first 15 minutes of the second half. That's a point. That'll be a coaching point from Eddie Howe, and a point made. This is what has to happen. If you're not sprinting, running around, and the data showed it after the game from what Dan Burn said, the sprint outputs were massive, and we got the goal. And so obviously the analysis of it, the way we went about it, even we went man to man for pretty much the full game against Liverpool, outside the last 10 minutes, where we had to sit in and all that. And so from a tactical side of it, Eddie Howe's grown, the players have grown exponentially, and I he has to go again. He has to reinvent again. He can't reinvent the wheel, but he has to add things into it. That's what he has to do. He's playing Champions League football next season, so he's going to come up against different teams and different styles every other week. Or you get an idea about the Spanish, you get an idea about certain Italians, how they're going to play potentially. But for the most part, he's going to have to be very, very flexible. And I think last season was a benchmark from Christmas on of getting into the Champions League. If that's how we're going to play, we're going to sit in, we're going to play on the counter attack, we're going to hopefully have possession of the ball. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, tactically, they've all grown. And I know Dan Burn's grown tactically as well. He's doing coaching courses and licenses, and you can just see him being the next manager, the next coach, or something like that. So again, their cogs are always turning of how and where to be, what to do through their roles and through these just trigger words. And it'll be relatively simple, not be complicated, but it'll just be enough so they know in their minds, like, oh crap, then the word will get passed around, and then they know what's going on, or they'll see somebody shifting to a different place and they'll know what it is immediately. That's just down to Eddie Howe and his coaching staff.
Okay. The big thing next season is Champions League football. We know what happened last time. We know that we fell short in the transfer window. We didn't build the squad. We got injury suspensions, and that had a knock-on effect with our league position. Wasn't drastic. We would have took it under Ashley. That's for certain. But there is an anticipation that Newcastle are going to spend this summer in some way, shape, or form. How many players do we need in, Kev, do you think?
4 or 5 somewhere. So, I'm not saying I've said previous. It's not the quantity that we need. I don't think we need a lot. I just think we need the quality. We just need a bit more quality coming off. Not saying off the bench, but even the start games. You know, yes, Jacob Murphy's he's done very well, but I think he might have reached his ceiling. He might have reached his level. But we need somebody to compete with him. We need somebody to unlock the door. Going back to the shape and formations. Do we need to find somebody who can play in the number 10, who can unlock the door centrally? Do we need to find another centre forward who can just, if we go old school English and play 4-4-2 upside along Isaac, who's a big target man, and let Isaac play off of him? Do we go that road? Because again, your continentals are not used to playing that way. They're used to playing against certain different things. So for me, it's more the quality and not about, yes, like you can put any pound amount on a player, but it's what their value is. And so I would say at least 5 somewhere, just to give yourself enough as a cover, a buffer to get possibly out of the group stage or the league table, get into the knockouts and stuff like that, further into the Champions League competition. But again, you got the Carabao Cup to go defend. You got other players who you're going to bring in, other players you have, are those going to be adequate or good enough to go and have a Carabao Cup campaign again, FA Cup campaign? Can we push again into the Premier League? So you got to have that depth versus just buying players to buy players. That's not how it works. You've got to buy the quality, in my opinion.
Okay, interesting stuff. You know, from your position, who do you think will go? You know, are we likely to see the likes of Callum Wilson and Longstaff going? Are you expecting to see something different? Because it's got off to a slow start, this transfer window. There is a little bit of panic, I guess, you know, online, and as always, we get speculation. But are you expecting Eddie to want to keep a hold of some of these players rather than let them go? And you know, that's going to be the interesting thing, I guess. Who are you expecting to maybe leave the club?
It's a difficult one because again, it depends on what he wants in terms of per game, and you know, we know he's loyal. We know he likes the same around and the culture that he's developed. But I think, unfortunately, in my opinion, Callum Wilson's race is run. I think his body's failing him in a way. He can't do the things that he could do maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, pre-injuries. But they're just taking their toll. So I can see him going. And again, there's no sentiment in football, but I say unfortunately, I think again John Longstaff could be a good squad player, yes, but I don't think he's going to generally compete at the highest level with the players that would potentially want to look and get in. I know there's box ticking exercise, that being an English homegrown and all that sort of thing. I understand that. So maybe does he go? Possibly. I'm just trying to think of others. I think I would keep Kieran Trippier around for another season. Yeah, so they would be the main ones. Obviously, you've got your Deadwoods, you've got your Jamal Lewis's of the world, you've got all them who are who are Mac Targets, who I wouldn't keep around. I would let them go. So that frees up some space. Again, it's a very difficult one. We're not renowned sellers. We're not renowned. It doesn't seem like our sales team can get a good bit of business done for outgoings, in my opinion. So again, if we can get 4 or 5 out and then bring in 4 or 5 quality in, then it's like for like. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. And with it regarding to the transfer windows and stuff like that, again, I'm not really concerned yet. I'm not worried. I would imagine there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't even know about, only the club know about, and that's probably how it should be, and it's kept in house. So, yeah, So Callum Wilson, possibly Sean Longstaff, Jamal Lewis will go, Matt Target, and maybe a couple of the younger lads to go out on loan. just to get some experience for them, for their development and their growth.
Okay, from our perspective as well, we've got a lot of goalkeepers, Kev.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Do you expect one of those keepers to maybe leave, or maybe a couple of those keepers leave?
Yeah. Lackademus, I think he might be loaned, because I don't think that's good business. You know, like we know he's the most expensive goalkeeper that was signed, and he's only played 45 minutes, so that was forced upon us really for that purchase. But I can see him going on loan. Again, you've got your John Ruddy's and Mark Gillespie's, who are the training ground lads, you know, who you keep around just for morale purposes. But I think you only need one to do that. I mean, good Lord, I could go and do that and boost morale every day and kick a ball at a goalkeeper and stuff like, you know. So maybe John Ruddy does move on, you know, or does he retire, go into a coaching role? The Trafford one's an interesting one because I called that about a year and a half ago, or last summer, I think it was, throughout the Euros, the 21s or whenever that was, a couple of years ago. So I called James Trafford because I watched him play, and I've seen him play a few times for Burnley, and he's a very astute goalkeeper, obviously younger. So I think we need, if Dubravka's willing to be number three, then you've got to have a competition for Nick Pope to really look at and consider, and I think Trafford will do that, and I think eventually he'll be the number one, unless something else surprises and pops out where Pope will be the one to go. Trafford comes in, then everything else what we talked about is null and void, and you know, we'll go from there. But that department needs a little bit of a reshuffle, and like in John Ruddy's, the Mark Gillespie's of the world. Lackademus will go on loan, but I think at least one or two will probably be moved on. And again, if Dubravka's happy to play number three, with Trafford potentially coming in, then I'll be fine with that.
Obviously, from our perspective, Kev, you know, we've won a trophy, and they often say in football circles, winning the first one is your hardest. Do you expect Newcastle to continue in the same vein over the coming seasons? Do you see Newcastle building and essentially winning more silverware?
I do. The phrase to compete in them, get to finals, then you have a chance. Then if we can do that consistently, yes, the outcome might not be what we want. We've already experienced that with the Man United defeat a couple of seasons ago. But if you consistently get into even semi-finals, finals, get there, make the big dance, have a chance to fight for a medal, you know, we've done it, you know, so that gives. 1 second, I've got a plane flying over my head. Real sorry, man. Not bad living by an executive airport, I'm not gonna lie. So again, it's that consistency of getting into the final. If we continually do that, the more you get into them, the more you're going to win. It's quite a simple adage, really. You know, as long as we compete on all fronts, Champions League is going to be obviously a different animal. You know, you got to clean up against better teams, better sides. With again, without the squad depth, potentially we might not be able, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But I think the next one, really, what we need to check off is the FACup. You know, the oldest cup competition in the world. I would love us to see that, you know, so that just adds to obviously to the trophy cabinet. But you know, go win the Carabaocup again. Why not? You know, it's not a bad one to lift. You know, it's a trophy at the end of the day. Maybe get up into third or fourth in the Premier League, push it for a title challenge over the next few years. Who knows? But again, it all comes down to the mentality of the players, the recruitment of what they're potentially going to bring in. And obviously, the main man at the helm to push in that direction. Yeah, mute, Steve.
Interesting chat, Kev. As always, great to have you on the show. Look forward to seeing what happens next season. But for now, Kev, thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, mate. All the best. Thanks.
Take care.